Let me turn off. I can't see it.
Oh,
This is my luck.
mm-hmm.
And you are live. Hi, everyone. How's everybody doing today?
Good.
Good. I am Yadira with Las Vegas Fence Company in Las Vegas and with the women of FWA. Today, we have a couple of very special guests on the show. We have Lisa and Michelle from Greenwood Fence out in, you said Illinois?
Yes.
Yes. So, can you guys tell us a little bit about Greenwood Fence? What do you guys do?
Sure. So we carry composite fencing with our aluminum post and rail system. We just introduced our 2 colors for our vinyl as well. We're excited about that, as well as our Euro design, which is all aluminum slats to give a nice sleek look, added to our category of our beautiful fences. Composite is really taking off. We are doing really well and excited to share it with so many people, excited for the shows coming up. What else, Lisa?
We got amazing gates that we just came out with the last year. That's really taken our business to new levels because we're able to provide our clients with driveway gates now and larger, oversized custom gates.
Yeah.
So we're excited about that. And we were able to color match our composite boards with the aluminum. So the color is on point, and that's the reason why we're able to go larger now, because of the weight of the aluminum. It's super light.
Yeah.
That's great. Will you guys be at Demo Days in Las Vegas this September?
Yes.
Very excited.
So we're all kind of waiting to see what happens, right? Waiting to see how it turns out.
We're just excited to leave a day early.
Right.
Oh, okay. What day are you guys coming in?
I mean, Monday for sure. Yeah. So Monday for sure, but we're gonna stay through the weekend, so we'll be there a full week.
That's fabulous.
Yeah.
Really, I'm really looking forward to meeting you guys in person. So
Yeah, it'll be fun.
So excited.
So what can we expect to see at your guys? You guys have a booth inside as well as the outside demo space?
Yes. So we have a booth inside. We're also doing a class.
Yeah.
And I think we're also going to be hosting breakfast.
Yeah,
like
a breakfast with coffee and donuts, whatever, kind of like a Q&A one of the mornings. Hopefully we can meet up with as many contractors as we can to get our product in their hands. But I mean, that's what Demo Days is for too. But this time around, it's like, we've gone to the show last year. It was super successful as far as meeting a lot of people that we kind of would go back and forth with on social media, but it was great to finally, put a face to the name and sit down and chat. And, even now it's like we remain friends, and it's just a better connection, and it's just great. We're really excited.
Good. I'm really glad to hear that, because that's kind of what we're rooting for, what we're hoping for, to kind of get you guys to in front of new people, different people, and we're really looking forward to September as well.
Yeah.
Right.
Is there anything else you guys might want to add?
Just definitely, we'd love to be able to, get our name out there. We're looking forward to meeting people, looking forward to, working with so many more people that maybe are not familiar with composite. They've heard of it, but not too familiar in regards to what's involved. So we love the opportunity to quote it out. We were quoting at the show when we were there as well. So
just anyone who's listening, if you want to, us to quote out your project, just give us an email with linear footage, a drawing with linear footage, and we'll be able to quote that out for you using our materials.
And, definitely let us know if you want samples. We have contractor sample boxes that we can send out to you. We'll have them at the show as well, samples to hand out. But definitely our contractor sample box is, got samples of our posts, our boards, brochures, literature in there. So definitely just give us a email, lisa@greenwoodfence.com or michelle@greenwoodfence.com. We'll be more than happy to send that out to you, and
Look forward to meeting you.
Look forward to meeting and working with you.
Fabulous. Thank you,
Yeah.
ladies. Thank you guys so much.
You're welcome. Thanks, guys.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. See you in Vegas.
Yep.
Hi, ladies.
Man, the girls at Greenwood, they are taking Vegas by the cojones.
Right?
Yes, I'm so
They're
excited.
the girls of Greenwood, but I'm really looking forward to meeting them in person at the show. I didn't have a chance. It was all work last time, and I'm hoping this time I get a little bit more play in there.
Oh yeah, no, I have a blast with them every time I get to talk to them. They make me just feel so special. I love it.
So, guys, today we will be touching up on structures and entities, a little bit more on the previous show that we did. Gosh, Tiffany, how long ago was it?
Oh, I don't know. It's been a couple months, hasn't it?
It's probably been a couple of months, but I know it was pretty popular. We really only touched on a few different things, but if you want to kind of walk us through what we touched on last time, we can move on to the other questions we have.
Sure. So, I mean, we just really kind of breezed over last time. There's an importance about structuring your business, not just filing it. So if you're filing on the state Secretary of State website, which is what a lot of entrepreneurs do when they're getting started, you typically end up with your certificate of organization or your articles of operation, whatever it is. You're not ending up with your operating agreement, your minutes, your bylaws, what have you, depending on what entity you are. There's legal documents that are required for your entity to be able to withstand, a legal battle or some kind of thing like that. So that was something that we had kind of went heavily into, and then we, being short on time, just kind of breezed right through the different entities that there were and how you can strategically potentially try to use them together. No one entity is the best entity, in my opinion, as a non-certified attorney. You can see there on the bottom, we've got our
Gotta get our disclaimer in. We are not lawyers. This
Yes.
conversation does not constitute legal advice. Instead, all
Just
information and content is for general informational purposes only. Okay, sorry. Go, girl.
Susan.
I think it's good. We had to read it out loud, so people have to know. But yeah, so what we wanted to talk specifically, drill in a little bit more this time on a couple of things that we had breezed over last time. And Susan, don't you want to put something on the, there we go. So the very first thing would be types of entities. And I could just talk about this, but Yadira, did you want to ask questions about it? Or I know you said, we were doing more of a Q&A setting, whereas last time I actually had a presentation on the screen.
Sure. So the last time we had talked about it, we had talked about a C Corp, an S Corp, an LLC, a DBA, and an ABN.
Right. Okay.
And those are types of entities.
Right. Well,
And that's how you would structure your company.
You are so spot on, Susan. If we could throw a gold star your way, we would do it. Yeah. So, as far as like legal terminology goes, even as individual people, we are an entity, right? So our social security number is to us what a business's EIN is to them. And that's why there is sole proprietors or solopreneurs, right? That's where typically you see a lot of people using the DBA, which is doing business as, or ABN, assumed business name. It's essentially something to say, hey, I'm just an individual, but I wanna say I'm doing business as this name instead of my personal name. So there's not a lot of limited liability when you're a single person in business. and that includes as a single member LLC, just to transition into the LLCs. LLCs, you can have a single member or a multi-member LLC filed for some reason, but the single member LLC, it's regarded just like a sole proprietor by the IRS, and any attorney could come in and say, hey, as a single member, you're not an actual LLC, you're operating more as an alter ego, in which case they can bypass any liability protection and come directly to you and your personal assets with their loss.
So which entity would actually protect you as an individual more?
So definitely, I would say at very least a multi-member LLC, right? I mean, Yadira had asked earlier what would be the best entity to get into, like when you're just getting started, right? So
Yeah.
you could just get started as a sole proprietor, like say you're just out building fence side projects, maybe you don't even have any assets involved yet aside from your personal truck you're using. People get started that way, right?
Yeah.
When you need to take it to a more serious level, though, even that personal truck has business use, right? If you're using it for your business, there's a certain aspect of it that's deductible because of the mileage that's been used for business purposes.
Yeah.
So that really starts to play into when to get into multiple entities. In my opinion, you should start off with multiple entities if at all possible. Because you're preparing yourself for growth. So you prepare for scalability and you're starting off with the most prepared foot forward.
So that's one of the things, the key takeaways that I took from the previous show that we did is your business doesn't have to be just one entity. Like you can have a multi-entity business, and that's what you're talking about. And right?
Right. And very well should. Because just to finish up on the types of entities, we have also S Corps and C Corps, right? And these are not all the types of entities. There's partnerships, there's all kinds of other little things out there, but these are the most popular. They're the ones you're going to hear most about when you're talking about getting into business for yourself. So there's different things. Each entity has strengths and weaknesses. For instance, S Corp and an LLC are both considered a pass-through entity. So that means that the money is going to come in from the public to the entity. The entity is going to pay all of its expenses, and then it's going to pass whatever profit or loss is left over to the individual or the owner of the business. So let's say you're working a W-2 job, but you also have an LLC. If you have a loss in your LLC and you've already paid taxes on $75,000 for your W-2 job, you can come back to the IRS and say, hey, paid $75,000, but I ended up with a $10,000 loss, so I overpaid $10,000, worth of taxes. Excuse me.
Can you do that if you became a W-2 employed under your LLC?
Yes, there are definitely nuances where you would want to talk with a real CPA when you're getting into this kind of stuff, because there's things like, Yadira had also talked about involving their kids, right? You can pay your kid through your business. I think it's $12,500 a year with no taxable event. So it's totally tax-free, but because you're paying it from your business entity, you are paying it with pre-tax dollars, which means it's just more money in your pocket. So kind of how that works, right? If you're a W-2 employee, you have money that comes in. They take taxes right off the top before you ever see your paycheck, typically, right?
Yes.
You get a paycheck. You're like, hey, these are all my expenses in life. You pay them out. And then if you've got a little bit of money left over, we throw ourselves a ladies' night at the Women of FWA with it and call it a profit. If you're in business for yourself, you have the money come into your entity. The entity pays expenses first, and then taxes are paid on what's left over after expenses.
Okay.
So that just showcases why go from the sole proprietor to LLC, right? Because you want to really take it serious when you're thinking about your tax deductions.
Yes.
But where you have pass-through entities, the C corporation is not considered a pass-through entity. So it's actually considered something called double taxation, which means that the money comes into the entity pays all of its expenses, and then the entity itself pays tax on what the remainder is. After the entity pays tax, it passes the dividends off to the shareholders, which are the owners of the C corporation, and they have to pay tax on what they receive. But they're paying tax on a dollar that their business entity that they own had also just paid tax on.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, a glaring weakness in the C corporation that people try to avoid, and especially when we're in small business, we are not, not prepared to pay double taxes, essentially.
Yeah. Right.
Oh, yikes.
So that's where we kind of were talking about, and I don't know if that's the next screen button. I think so. Boom.
Yes.
Little entity structures. I didn't want those to go unused since you made them.
Thank you.
So multiple entity structures, right? This is where you can kind of start to get to know the strengths and weaknesses of each entity, and then put them together in a way that they balance that out. Again, this is stuff that, like, anyone that's watching, get your attorneys involved and your CPAs, talk to them about how you want to strategize. They will know this stuff, but a lot of times, I mean, depending on who you're talking to, if they're not a tax planner, right? If they're just a CPA or a tax preparer, they're not necessarily being incentivized to go above and beyond with future strategies versus let me take a look at what happened in your finances and tell you. They're kind of, considered like financial historians, but we want to look forward when we're planning growth. So you can talk to them about it and let them know what you're planning and get them on board just because you've brought up the conversation and it is something that they know about.
And Tiffany, if somebody wanted to have like a conversation with you about the right questions to ask their CPA in advance, would you be available to people for that?
Yeah, definitely. So my own business, Iron Price Sales and Consulting, I'm working on selling fence material and getting to know the fence industry in that way. And it's been really fun. I do love, I'm really kind of, I don't know if I'm weird, but I'm the only one I know that loves chain link. It's become like my favorite project to do.
I love it too, Tiffany. That makes two a weirdos.
Nice. Good. Yeah. Everyone else is all about the vinyl, but there's
Yes.
chain link that it gets me. So, but then on the other side is that I do eventually want to, consult fencepreneurs, for lack of a better word, right now on just how to do stuff, we talked multiple times about a podcast that I'm considering launching called Sounds of the Fence Underground. And that's essentially, I would just want to bring in like a very informal way nuggets that just your everyday fence people need. There's all these big organizational ideas, but there's the people that are just getting started kind of need more than anything, I would say.
Yes. Yes, definitely. I believe the same thing. And that's what that's where my question came in earlier, is for somebody who's just brand new, what is the most affordable type of entity to get their business structured in?
Sure. And so that's a really interesting question because we have to consider the things that we value. One might be money and one might be time, for instance. As far as like filing and structuring your entities across the United States, there's some variances in costs. There's Rocket Lawyer and a couple of other things like that now. Shoot, I don't know. I haven't looked into it. And again, don't trust my opinion on this, but maybe AI. I know the AI's out there doing all kinds of crazy things. Maybe you can hit up your AI and say, hey, write me bylaws for my corporation. This is what we're up to. And then pay to have an attorney review it. And then you're not paying full-on attorney fees, right?
That's actually really smart. I mean, and we have FWA.ai as well, which is actually focused on the fence and gate industry itself. It has been built into the 4.0s and all the updated different types of AIs out there to actually pull out the actual proper language. I mean, of course, like anything else, it's AI. You have to read through it.
Right. Well, and thank goodness for that, right? Because if it
Right.
was spot on, I think we'd all have a lot worse nightmares.
Yes.
But so affordability, right? You can find ways to make things affordable. When it comes to, hey, I'm new to business and I'm just trying to figure out like how to get my feet wet and which one to run. I'm not going to say again, you should just choose one right out of the front, because I feel like potentially anyone could benefit from having multiple entities right out of the gate.
Uh-huh.
But I will say that your corporations tend to have a more stringent management process. You have to have an annual set of shareholders meetings at least. I would recommend having them more often so that if you ever have to prove profit motive, it's documented and it's just easy to refer to. Then on top of shareholders meetings, you have to have board of directors meetings. So you've got owners, but you have managers. So then in your board of directors meetings, same thing, routinely documenting profit motive, talking about growth of the company, things like that. You want to document that like, hey, I'm really in business for like a legitimate reason, you know?
So that leads me into, I know that every corporation does have to have meeting minutes. What are these meeting minutes and how do you document them?
Sure. Just to finish the last question real fast. An LLC, slightly easier because you do want to have members' minutes once a year, owners of the LLC. Again, I would recommend doing it more than once a year, but just by law, you're required once a year.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have multiple layers of ownership, management, whatever, that you have to document and record.
Okay.
So although any entity can be affordable or unaffordable to get into, depending on how you're looking at it.
Yeah.
The LLCs are a little easier as far as time management goes.
Okay.
Then as far as minutes, so minutes is a document that just proves like, hey, we came together, we talked about the business, we moved the needle wherever we could move the needle. You know, go ahead.
Do you think we could AI those minutes?
I mean, probably. So, I mean, I think you could at very least have a form, right? But
Right.
so like the typical forms that I would fill out for minutes is like, hey, these people showed up for a meeting for this company, that we went to this address at this time, or we met virtually at this time, however it happened. And then this is the conversation that ensued. These are resolutions that were made or decisions that were made during the meeting. These are the responsibilities people have accepted upon themselves, you know? So it's really just kind of like a quick capture of it. There's definitely easy things you can do. Like if you are meeting virtually, there is a thing called otter.ai. So yes, it's an AI, and maybe you can make your AI do the same kind of thing. But you just basically integrate it to your Zoom or your Google Duos or your, I don't know if StreamYard is just for streaming, but it'll pick up on your audio and transcribe it for you just while you're
Very
talking.
cool.
So yeah, it's just a simple little tool, but it's free, it's handy. And when I would recommend to entrepreneurs to keep minutes, I would often just say like, hey, just set this tool up for yourself. And whenever you're going to be in a meeting, hit your otter.ai. And honestly, like whenever they were in a meeting, you know, like if you're talking to your customers, record it, because next time you talk to that customer, now you've got like a detailed list of, hey, this is what we talked about last time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anytime you can transcribe your audio, you're doing yourself a favor.
So what was that site again?
Otter.ai. OTTER.
Okay. Perfect. I will make a note of that.
Yeah, just a handy little tool. So, and then I think, just to finalize on the question about the minutes, I believe there's no formal mandatory way of doing it. You know, I would include those notes because I'm trying to be thorough about what happened where, whatever. Plus, if we met at Sizzlers for this meeting, we're writing it off, right? So I need to make sure that all that's included.
Well, you do have to check your state's laws, because there are some states that do not allow you to have virtual board meetings. I believe Nevada is one of those states that does not allow virtual board meetings.
Yeah, that is curious. That's definitely why we have this disclaimer at the bottom, because there's variances and nuances. What's up, Andrea? There's all kinds of nuances per state, per entity type, right? Per industry that you're going into, like what permits and things like that do you have to have. There's definitely a lot, and my knowledge came from like a topical view of it.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't really drilled down, which is where I find the adventure and getting involved in the fence industry, is because now I can take, you know, things that I've studied in the past and start to kind of specialize that knowledge to a specific group of people.
Mm-hmm.
But there's so much you can do. Give me another one of your questions, Yadira, because I'm going to go way off track if I don't.
Let's push into legacy planning.
Okay.
I think there are a lot of companies out there that want to understand what to do and you know what to do next, and always planning for their future and retirement and the sale of a business. We will have courses at the Fin Show and Security Expo that basically teach you like how to be in preparation for that. But you know, we're young, the three of us, like we're not thinking about excuse me, what we're gonna do next. But it's important to know now.
Mm-hmm.
It is. I mean, especially if you do have a multi-generational business where it's kind of passed on from you to your children, or, you know, their children. Is an entity allowed, or is it possible to move it from one entity to another, or does it die off when you die? Can you go on a little bit about that?
Yeah. So you can. There's a few different ways you can do it. Like an entity can continue on, you know, as long as you're paying your annual renewal fees or filling out your reports, whatever you have to do at the state to keep it active. Sure. You could have a reorganization meeting where you elect new people into positions of power in the company. Or you could do, you know, so one of the things we would have included with the group I was working with before would be a trust. Always a trust, because essentially what my understanding of it was, if you, Yadira, have built a company and you're, you know, going on with it, everything's working out pretty great, and then something happens to you and nobody is technically the owner of your company anymore, then from what I understand, and again, this could change by state too, but essentially the state gets the power to decide, right? If you don't have a will or a trust or any kind of voice out there saying this is what I want to have happen, then the state gets to decide. So most of us, at least, we've heard about wills. And like you said, Susan, we're young. I have definitely not written a will. We should, right? We should probably, they should probably get us to like write our wills in high school and then just continue to edit them throughout life. But they're not getting us to think in that way, you know? But your will is going to kind of voice, hey, this is what I want to have happen. But when you pass away and all that's there is a will, that will goes through something called probate, where attorneys or accountants, the professionals come in, they verify the legitimacy of the will, they comb through the assets and the numbers, and they, you know, just make sure everything's as square as it's supposed to be before they're like, yep, turns out you can do what this will said you're supposed to do. And I'm not an expert, so I don't know exactly how long probate takes. I know that when my dad passed away, the probate on his, you know, very small estate took about 2 months for my mom to be able to take ownership of it. But I had a friend who said that her mom passed her a house and a bank account, and it took over a year for the probate to finish on just those two items.
Yes. I know Nevada is a probate state. I know Louisiana is a probate state. I know it's worse here in Louisiana because we're under Napoleonic law. And so I think it actually takes like 14 to 18 months to go through probate.
Right. I know that there's kind of a crazy range there. And so basically they were saying, let's have a trust involved, because then again, here comes the word entity, right? It's a legal entity that can hold the ownership of the company. So when I would set somebody up with an LLC, I would never set them up as a single member, because to me, that's a waste of their time and money. You know, you're not going to get the protection. You're not going to get the tax benefits you should get as an LLC if there's just one of you. It's really hard to say that you've had meeting minutes when you're just talking to yourself, right? So
I do that often. I don't know what everybody else is talking about. I write down everything I'm saying to myself.
I only go to myself when I want expert advice. But so yeah, basically, you know, like your trust can own your corporation. If I would set them up with a C corporation, the trust would own 51%. I'd leave 49% authorized but unissued in case they needed to build funds later, or, you know, as they're finding the people that are going to be a part of their team if they want to divvy out small percentages. No matter what, the trust is going to stay majority owner. So if something happens to
They have the control.
right. So if something were to happen to you, let's say, Yadira, and it's your trust, right? Your power automatically transfers to the trust. So the people that you've named as trustee to manage your trust now have power to be like, okay, this is how she wanted it done, and just take care of it really easily. As far as passing it on multi-generational to your kids, I feel like there's so many strategies that should come involved in that, because you want to have the trust, you want to have your estate planning and legacy planning and everything involved, but you also want to have your kids understand the business, right?
Right.
I've talked to people that were involved with like a business pass that didn't go so well. You know, like the dad is like, hey, can't wait, my son's going to take over the business, I'm retiring, see you guys. Passes the business on to the son, who this is his first time you know, dabbling in this industry, because he's been off doing other stuff his whole life. So he just comes in with all these ideas and like how it's got to happen and where he's going to trim the fat, you know, and like people lose their jobs that maybe wouldn't have if he'd known just how they interacted with the company. You know what I mean? So I think that in that multi-generational kind of a thing, it's really great to just have your kids involved from day one. I mean, from as early as you can stand, to let them, you know, sort paper clips and papers in your office and stuff like that. It may not always get done totally right. You may have to go back and redo it. You can still pay them for that. And of that $12,500 in their younger years, you can always pay out, you know, $6,000 of it to them for like, hey, go get your clothes, get your school supplies, get your, you know, extracurriculars paid for, whatever.
You know, with that being said, let me tell you a little story about my daughter.
Yeah.
So when she was younger, we offered her I don't know, I think it was like $50 to come in and clean the office. And so she told me, you know what? That's not enough. She thought $50 was not enough to come in and clean the office. And I said, you know what? Now you got to do it for free.
Right.
I was doing you a favor, sister.
Mom powers. Now it's just a chore. See how that negotiation works? But see, already she's learning negotiating.
There you go. There you go. I love it. I think it's really great. I love that you keep coming on here and just kind of sharing the information that you learned. That gets you excited to learn, and once you that things that you want to teach and pass on to other people, and that's something I really appreciate. I think that's one of the biggest reasons why you're on the leadership team. Your motivation to continue learning and to continue teaching. I can see that it's in your heart, and when you do something, you do it completely and fully, and I just appreciate that so much, Tiffany. Outside of that, we do have a little bit of business we have to put out there. The first thing is we will not be having a monthly meeting for Women of FWA this month, because what's going on Saturday, Yadira?
Happy hour. We're going to do a happy hour.
Yes. Come sip with us. I'm excited. It's going to be at 3 Pacific, 4 Mountain, 5 Central, 6 Eastern time this Saturday. It will not be recorded. It won't be going live anywhere. It'll just be us hanging out, playing some games, doing some trivia. One of the things that Tiffany wants to do is start us our own Spotify channel with all of our different music so we can get each other's vibes on. It's going to be an absolute blast. Look at this. Come sip with us. I kind of like it because we always say, "Come, you can sit with us." Now it's like, "Come sit with us." Like, good play on words, Michaela. Also, it's Father's Day weekend, so I want to say a big happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. You're out there hustling every single day, and it's very much appreciated by all of us, and we appreciate you. And the last thing I want to say before we go is I got my Gatekeepers podcast swag. Got it on their website. It was easy to order. Total cost for 3 shirts was $69.69. That's right. You heard it. We're so punny. I hate you, Michaela. And they will be going live tonight at 7:15 Central. Tiffany, is there anything you would like to say before we cut out tonight?
No, just thanks everyone, as always, for supporting this group of awesome women. And I'm excited. I hope, everyone that's watching and more can come join us on Saturday. It's just going to be fun.
Tiffany, what is what are you looking to do with your, I guess, business that you're trying to start? Is it just consulting?
Yeah, I mean, so I'm not quite to a launch point yet. The very first thing and foremost thing I'm doing right now is wholesale material supply, and I can supply nationwide. So any of you guys specifically need chain link, I'd love to help you with that order. And also, gates. I'm getting into the whole gate world. So I feel like that's like its own beast to conquer, really. But I feel like those are where my interest lies, is chain link and gates.
How did they get a hold of you, Tiffany, if they needed a quote?
Just yell like, "Hey, Tiff!"
Of course, if you're looking for Tiffany, you can email womenfwa@gmail.com or
208-417-9100. You can call or text. I'm happy to get in contact with you. And then, I'll be talking more about the consultation stuff as I continue to grow. There's people out there doing, like, I know that Tony Thornton has a really great consultation package. There's another guy, Brian Martin, I believe. I really love just about everything he puts out. I think he's genius. So I want to bring something to the industry that, adds to and complements the industry without creating weird, unneeded competitional vibes.
Yeah.
Just figuring out where I fit in exactly. But until then, I'm right here with y'all.
Woo woo.
We appreciate you being here, Tiffany. Thank you so much for that very informational discussion.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. Good next, Tony. I got to work on my mustache.
I'll see you guys Thursday.
Bye, y'all.
Have a great night, guys.